Hello and welcome back to the port. I'm the Gav Major, and this is a review of the Tier 5 Tech Tree Italian cruiser Trento, available as early access via Italian crates, big and small, and will be researchable in the next patch. Now, this is a Tier 5 and 6 game on... I can't remember the name of the map now. Sleeping Giant. On the enemy team. Oh, yep, on the enemy team, Ganevi, Icarus, Akatsuki, Trento, Leander, Atlanta, Queen Elizabeth, Snop, and Scharnhorst, with the Trento working with a Scharnhorst. Just quickly getting some speculative torpedoes out to Bravo, simply because they do have a 12-kilometer range. Now, Trento was the first of two Trento-class heavy cruisers launched for the Italian Navy between 1926 and 1927, and these were the first heavy cruisers launched for the Italian Navy. Now, Trento had a busy career during World War II, escorting Axis convoys and attacking Allied convoys, and she was also present at the Battle of Cape Matapan. She was sunk in June 1942 by British torpedoes, however. Now, as always, the traits of the Trento will be in comparison to the other heavy cruisers at Tier 5, not heavy cruisers, but all the cruisers I should say, at Tier 5. Now, she has the highest amount of HP for her tier, which is really quite a nice little trait she has. So it does mean she has, on paper, it looks like a decent survivability. However, her armor is it's average armor, and the way she seems to take damage in this game, she doesn't exactly feel like she's got bags of health or bags of survivability. However, she does have the highest torpedo reduction at the tier, so that can be quite helpful, especially considering that she does not have sonar and is a smoke cruiser, which sits in torpedo magnet smoke screens, I guess you could say. Oh, very nice. Artillery-wise, she is one of three heavy cruisers at this tier. Tech Tree heavy cruisers, I should say, with the other two being the Aoba and the Pensacola. Now, you have 8 8-inch guns in 4 dual gun turrets, which isn't too bad of a gun count for an 8-inch cruiser, considering that the other two have 6 and 10 guns, so you sit pretty much bang in between them. Just not wanting to accidentally rush into those Icarus torpedoes. Now, these guns, so you've got A turret and B turret super firing at the front, and then Y turret, X turret super firing at the rear. And they do seem to have quite decent angles. I want to keep HE loaded simply because of the destroyer over there that I want to pick on. There we go. Now, your guns have an average range. They have a very slow reload though, and that puts the reload time on par with the Pensacola. However, they do have a decent traverse speed, which is on par with the Aoba. You have the joint highest HE damage per shell, you have an average fire chance per shell, and you have the highest AP damage per shell. So the shells themselves aren't anything to complain about. However, it's the gun count and the slow rate of fire which does let the Trento down at the end of the day, meaning that she does have the lowest AP, HE, DPM, and she also has the lowest fires per minute as well. One of her traits is that she has sluggish shot, very much like the American heavy cruisers at this tier, which means at long range your shells are a bit floaty, so you may have to lead a bit more. However, because of their low muzzle velocity, it does mean that you have a better ability to shoot from behind islands should you wish to play that way. Torpedoes, you have the third fastest reload time per launcher, and you have an average reload time per tube. Now, the torpedoes do have the lowest damage for a cruiser, and they have the shortest detectability, which is only 1 kilometer, so they're really little sneaky buggers. However, they also have the longest range, but they're slow. So they've got a 12 kilometer range, but because they're so slow, it takes a long time for them to actually cover that range. But the nice one is, because of their short detectability, when you run the math, basically, it does come across that these torpedoes do have the shortest reaction time for an enemy ship. So the enemy will have the shortest amount of time to respond to these torpedoes as they come in, which should help in guaranteeing their ability to hit on target, I guess you can say. Maneuverability, you are the joint fastest at the tier with 35 knots, and you do have the second best turn circle. However, you do have the worst rudder shift, so not very mobile, so that's something to bear in mind. Now, concealment wise, you have the hidden trait, and that is agreeable. You do have the best detectability by sea. However, you have an average detectability from firing in smoke, which is quite intriguing considering you are a smoke cruiser. Talking of smoke, you do have 2 smoke screens. These have a 20-second duration, that's how long it takes to lay a smoke screen, and then they have a 77-second dispersion, which is how long the smoke screen is going to sit around for. One thing to note is they do have a 240-second reload, and overall, through these stats, these smoke screens are slightly worse than the British, as you do have longer time to wait between smoke screens in order to use them, and you also will spend less time hidden in smoke, I guess you could say, in an entire game in comparison to the British. Now, you don't have sonar, which does mean sitting in your smoke screens can be a very precarious job, considering that smoke screens can become torpedo magnets. Also, your acceleration isn't exactly impressive to mention either. Now, your other consumable is a catapult fighter, which you get 3 launchers of, I should say. Now, that's quite nice, really. Now, these aircraft do have the second worst DPS for the tier. The others being worse than you is the Russians, and considering the Russians will probably have radar fitted instead of their aircraft, it probably means that you will have the worst aircraft DPS wise in the game. So don't expect your catapult fighters to be fighter races at the end of the day. Now, modules wise, the commander build and the modules will be down in the description. However, a brief run over of the modules I've taken is aiming systems, because it does give a general buff across the board to your torpedo launch traverse speed, secondary battery range and reload speed, and your main battery dispersion. And they've also taken steering gears because your rudder is so sluggish. If your rudder wasn't so sluggish, I would be very tempted to take propulsion systems instead, or propulsion mods instead. Okay, let's see if we can finish this game out without me making an absolute potato of it. I've always now got the Le Fantastique game in the back of my mind, where I absolutely ballsed it up and ran into a load of Jervis torpedoes. Let's see if we can catch that Leander broadside on. Oh, so that's one thing to mention, although that Trento was actually broadside on. See if we can get the Icarus, and then we'll push up and see if we can get the Trento. No, he's gone. Whether or not I can finish the Leander, it looks like he's going quite slow. Yeah, he's definitely slowed down. Nice. Well, now it's time to use the high top speed of the Trento to motor around the map, which is quite nice. Now, torpedo angle wise, it's quite favourable, I would guess you could say. They're quite wide angles, and so this is one thing where what you may have seen at the start of this video, where I kind of did a quick flip and a flop with the ship in order to get the torpedoes down range at the front. I don't think there's any harm in doing that, especially at the start of the game, just to try and impede the enemy's manoeuvrability within certain areas, especially considering the torpedoes do have a 12-kilometer range, which is really quite nice. Oh, there we go. Friendly Zara polished off the enemy Atlanta. So there we go, 84,000 damage, which is quite a decent amount of damage in this cruiser. I've been having some real mixed games. It all kind of depends, obviously, though, on how the play style of the game goes. I'm also testing a few different things here and there, especially with commander builds. Now, commander build and ship modules will be down in the description, and if you have enjoyed the video, feel free to give it a thumbs up. Going on to team results, came second of the team. I'm happy with that. Akatsuki really pulled his weight there, getting himself 4 kills, very nice. And on the enemy team, fair enough, fair enough. Going on to the economy, ship service cost was only 35,000 credits because it's a tier 5 ship, and therefore managed to make myself quite a nice tidy profit with and without premium. If you've enjoyed this video, feel free to check out some of our other content, and if you enjoy it more, then feel free to subscribe. If you aren't already a subscriber, I'd like to say thank you very much, guys, for your continued support and contribution. All in all, Trento, however, found she's enjoyable. I just feel the smoke screens wrong, is the best way to put it. I can live with the HE instead of SAP, but I think the smoke screens just don't fit the ships quite right. When you play the British cruisers, the having smoke on those cruisers almost feels very organic, whereas when playing the Italian cruisers and having smoke, it just feels cumbersome and not very effective. That's just how I felt about it. Your opinion or mileage may differ, but yeah, I think that's my initial impressions. I look forward to playing some of the other Italian cruisers and seeing how they play out instead. It could be maybe the smoke screens fit other cruisers of this tech tree better. Well, until next time, I'm the Gareth Major, and back to the port.